There is a great loneliness in leadership. We have to live with ourselves. A man has to live with his conscience. A man has to live up to his inner feelings. No institution and no man ever lived with himself in a spirit of compromise. It was ever thus. The price of leadership is loneliness. The price of adherence to conscience is loneliness. The price of adherence to principle is loneliness. And I think it's inescapable. The Savior of the world was a man who walked in loneliness. Satisfied in my mind that Joseph Smith was a figure of loneliness. I somehow sense a great love for the boy who came out of the woods, who could never be the same again, who was berated and persecuted and looked down upon it. Finally spoke out, and I see a great spirit of pathos in this. For I had seen a vision, I knew it, and I knew that God knew it, and I could not deny it. Neither dared I do it. At least I knew that by so doing I would offend God and come under condemnation. I've been thinking this morning of a friend of mine whom I knew when I was on a mission 36 years ago in London. I remember his coming to our lodge through the night, the rain of the night. One evening, he knocked at the door, and I opened the door, and he took off his wet cap, and I invited him in, and I said, "What can we do for you?" And he said, "I've got to talk with someone. I'm all alone. I'm undone." And I said, "What's your problem?" And he said, "When I joined the church a little less than a year ago, my father told me to get out of his home and never come back. And I've never been back." He said a few months later, the cricket club of which I was a member read me off its list, barred me from membership. The boys with whom I'd grown up and with whom I had been so close and friendly. And he said last month my boss fired me because I was a member of this church and I've been unable to get another job and I've had to go on the dole. And last night, girl with whom I'd gone for a year and a half said she would never marry me because I'm a Mormon. And I said, "If this has cost you so much, Bill, why don't you leave the church and go back to your father's home and go back to your cricket club and go back to that job that meant so much to you and go back to the girl whom you think you love?" And he said nothing for what seemed to be a long time and put his head down in his hands and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. Finally looked up through his tears and said, "I couldn't do that. I know this is true. And if it were to cost me my life, I could never give it up." He picked up his wet cap and walked to the door and out into the rain. I watched him go down the street, alone, trembling, fearful but resolute. I thought again, the loneliness of conscience this has been the history of this church, my young friends. And I hope we'll never forget it. It came as a result of the position of leadership which was imposed upon us by the God of heaven, who brought forth a restoration of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And when the declaration was made concerning the only true and living church upon the face of the earth, we were immediately put in a position of loneliness, the loneliness of leadership, from which we cannot shrink nor run away, and to which we must face up with boldness and courage and ability.